He stared at the bottle like it held magic, brown liquid, dancing bubbles, a sweetness he couldn't name. The German soldier turned it slowly in his calloused hands, hands that had clutched rifles across the burning sands of North Africa, hands that had known only dust and blood and the metallic taste of war. And now this. 5 cents, the guard had said. Same price an American kid pays with his allowance money. The carbonation tickled his throat. The sugar exploded on his tongue. He'd never tasted Coca-Cola before, never even heard of it. But in that moment, summer of 1943, behind the wire at Camp Crossville, Tennessee, he tasted something more dangerous than any weapon the Allies possessed. He tasted the future, and it was impossibly, undeniably sweet. Across the American heartland that summer, over 370,000 German prisoners of war were experiencing the same quiet revolution. Not through bullets, not through bombs, but through ice cream, through chocolate bars, through soft drinks so common that guards handed them out like cigarettes. These were men who'd fought for the Third Reich, who'd believed every word of Nazi propaganda about American weakness and decadence. They were about to learn a truth that would shatter everything they thought they knew. America wasn't weak. America was so impossibly strong that it could afford to waste food while conquering the world. The sound of engines still echoed in their ears. Their Afrika Korps, Rommel's legendary desert fighters, had pushed the key British all the way back to the gates of Cairo. They'd been unstoppable, invincible, until they weren't. Tunisia, May 1943. 250,000 German and Italian soldiers laid down their arms. The Desert War was over. They'd lost. But what came next? That was something no propaganda film had prepared them for. The American soldiers who took them prisoner didn't beat them, didn't starve them. They fed them. Within hours of surrender, German hands that still trembled from battle were unwrapping American K rations, field rations, emergency supplies, the kind of food American GIs complained about endlessly. But to men who'd survived on hardtack and ersatz coffee for months, these olive-drab boxes held treasures from another world. Crackers. Real crackers. Not sawdust pressed into squares. Cheese. Processed, yes, but cheese nonetheless. Candy. Actual candy. Fruit bars that tasted like summer. Instant coffee with sugar tablets. Sugar they could use as much as they wanted. And cigarettes. American cigarettes, not the harsh tobacco they'd rationed carefully for months. One soldier would later write home, his letter intercepted and preserved by military censors, that he'd eaten better in the first day of captivity than in the last 3 months of fighting. The processing camps in North Africa served meals that seemed pulled from a dream: pancakes with syrup, real maple syrup flowing like water, fresh eggs, not powdered, not rationed, just eggs, scrambled and served hot milk, cold milk in tin cups. A German officer sat at a long table, fork frozen halfway to his mouth, watching American soldiers move through the chow line, taking what they wanted, sometimes leaving food uneaten on their trays. He couldn't reconcile it. Germany had been fighting this war for 4 years. Every calorie counted, every grain of wheat measured, every drop of fat hoarded. And here were the Americans, the enemy, throwing away food. What kind of nation were they fighting? The Liberty ships that carried prisoners across the Atlantic became floating classrooms in abundance. These vessels, ugly, utilitarian, mass-produced, rolled off American shipyards every 42 hours at peak production. One ship, 42 hours. The mathematics alone defied belief. Below decks, German prisoners ate rations that matched what American sailors received. 3,500 calories a day, fresh bread baked on board, meat, vegetables, coffee with all the sugar and milk they wanted. The ships had refrigeration, standard equipment, keeping food fresh for the 2 week, crossing as if it were the most natural thing in the world, and then came the moment that broke something. Fundamental in the German prisoners' understanding of reality, ice cream. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, waves rocking the hull, salt spray on the decks. Ice cream. The USS General M.B. Stewart's log, preserved in naval archives, records it plainly. July 4, 1943. Served ice cream to prisoners using ship's ice cream maker. 10 gallons per batch. Men who hadn't seen ice cream since before the war stood in line like children. Some wept, others laughed. A few simply stared at the cold sweetness melting on their spoons, unable to process what they were experiencing. One prisoner would later recall that moment in an interview 5 decades later, his voice still carrying wonder. "I thought, if they can make ice cream in the middle of the ocean for their enemies, what can't they do?" The American coastline appeared through morning fog. Norfolk, Newport News. Ports that handled more cargo in a single day than Hamburg processed in a week. German prisoners pressed against the rails, watching America reveal itself. Cranes that moved like mechanical giants. Warehouses stretching to the horizon. And everywhere, movement. Trucks, trains, ships, loading and unloading in synchronized chaos that somehow worked. At the port exchanges, little shops, where dock workers bought supplies. Prisoners glimpsed shelves stocked with candy bars. Hershey, Mars, Nestlé. Rows and rows of chocolate wrapped in colorful paper. 5 cents each. The same price everywhere. It wasn't possible. It couldn't be real. But it was. The trains that carried them inland didn't rattle like cattle cars. They rolled smooth on well-maintained rails. Passenger coaches, dining cars, windows that opened to American farmland stretching endless under summer sun. Meals served on real plates. Fried chicken, vegetables, pie, coffee in ceramic cups. One prisoner asked his guard if this was special treatment for prisoners. The guard laughed. "Nah, this is just how trains work here." Just how trains work. The camps themselves rose from American soil like small cities. Electric lights that blazed through the night. Hot water flowing from taps. Flush toilets. Steam heat for winter. Barracks with real beds and mattresses. The Geneva Convention required humane treatment, but America exceeded every requirement, as if the rules were merely suggestions for minimum effort. And then there was the PX, the Post Exchange. The camp store, that's where the real education began. Shelves lined with products, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola. Brands most Germans had never heard of. All available, all for sale, all within reach of a prisoner's daily wage. 80 cents per day for labor, later raised to $1. A candy bar cost 5 cents. A Coke cost 5 cents, do the math. A single day's wages could buy 16 items. 16 luxuries that would have required connections and luck to obtain in Germany, if they existed at all. A prisoner named Klaus Müller stood in front of the cooler at Camp Crossville, counting coins in his palm. He could afford 12 bottles of Coca-Cola with what he'd earned that week. 12 bottles of carbonated sweetness. He bought 2, drank one immediately, feeling the fizz burn cold down his throat, saved the other. Not because he couldn't afford more, but because some part of him still couldn't believe this would last. Couldn't accept that abundance was real and not some elaborate American trick. The Coca-Cola Company had made a promise when war began. Every American serviceman would get Coca-Cola for 5 cents, no matter where they served, no matter what it cost to deliver. 5 billion bottles in 1943 alone. That's billion with a B. More bottles than Germany had soldiers. German prisoners working outside the camps saw Coke everywhere. Vending machines at gas stations, coolers in factories, on drugstore shelves, in school cafeterias. Americans of every age, every class, every background drank it casually. Sometimes they'd take a few sips and toss half-empty bottles in the trash. The waste horrified German prisoners. They'd retrieve bottles from garbage cans, unable to bear seeing such luxury discarded. But what truly shattered their understanding was the consistency. A Coca-Cola in Maine tasted exactly like a Coca-Cola in Texas. Perfect standardization, perfect quality control, coast to coast, millions of bottles, all identical. German industry couldn't achieve that level of coordination for rifle ammunition, and America did it for a soft drink. The syrup came from Atlanta, one city, one factory, distributed to bottling plants nationwide, each plant following exact specifications, each bottle meeting exact standards. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't the divided, weak America that Nazi propaganda had promised. This was industrial power on a scale that made the Third Reich look like a village workshop. Ice cream arrived at camps in summer like clockwork. The first time prisoners at Camp Shelby, Mississippi, saw the delivery truck, they thought it was a mistake. Surely not. Surely that much ice cream couldn't be for prisoners. But it was July 4th, 1943. Hand-cranked freezers set up in the yard. American soldiers and German prisoners working side by side, taking turns at the crank. Ice and salt in the outer chamber. Cream and sugar and vanilla in the inner can. 30 minutes of cranking, then that glorious moment when the texture changed, when cream became ice cream. Gallons of it. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, butter pecan. The casual use of resources staggered the German mind. Ice in July, heavy cream, sugar, vanilla, all for entertainment food, for pleasure, for a holiday celebrating a nation only 167 years old. By 1944, most camps had electric ice cream makers. No more hand cranking. Just flip a switch and abundance appeared. Prisoners could buy ice cream bars for 10 cents, ice cream sandwiches, cups with multiple scoops and different flavors. Camp Hearn in Texas consumed 7,000 bottles of Coca-Cola weekly during summer. The ice cream consumption topped 100 gallons per week. For prisoners, enemy soldiers, men who'd fought to destroy everything America represented, and America responded by giving them ice cream. Sugar sat in bowls on mess hall tables. Not portioned, not measured, not rationed, just sitting there. White and granular and unlimited. In Germany, sugar was gold. Civilians received 280 grams monthly, when it was available at all. About 10 ounces. For an entire month. In American camps, sugar came in 100-pound bags. Weekly deliveries. Camp bakeries used it without thought. Cakes, cookies, pies. Sweet rolls for breakfast. Coffee came with sugar bowls. Tea got sweetened. Cereal got sugar sprinkled on top. Desserts arrived rich with sweetness. One incident, preserved in military records from Camp Aliceville, Alabama, tells the story better than statistics. August 1943. Humid southern heat. Several hundred pounds of sugar hardened in the humidity. Clumped together. Difficult to use. The American kitchen staff's solution? Throw it away. Order replacement supplies. German prisoners working in the kitchen were visibly distressed. They actually argued with the cooks. That sugar could be saved, steamed, broken apart, recovered. The American cook shrugged. Too much trouble. We got more coming tomorrow. Too much trouble. More coming tomorrow. That sentence contained everything the prisoners were learning about America. Abundance so vast that waste was easier than recovery. chocolate arrived in forms. Germans couldn't imagine Hershey bars, Baby Ruth, Milky Way, Snickers, dozens of brands, hundreds of varieties. The military purchased 380 million pounds of chocolate products during the war years. Not for special occasions, not for officer privileges, for everyone. For troops, for workers, for prisoners. Camp exchanges stocked chocolate like Germany stocked bread. 5 cents for a standard Hershey bar. 10 cents for larger candy bars. Americans had preferences. They'd choose one brand over another based on taste. Casual choice among luxuries. In Germany, chocolate was a memory, a substance that had vanished into war. Officers might have access. Connections might yield a small piece. But in America? In America, prisoners could buy all they wanted. Red Cross packages arrived monthly. Standard issue. Every prisoner, enemy or not, chocolate or candy bars, instant coffee, processed cheese, crackers, canned meat, cigarettes, soap. These packages, supplemental to regular rations, exceeded what German civilians received as basic sustenance. A prisoner could eat 3 full meals daily from camp kitchens, buy snacks and soft drinks from the PX, and still receive Red Cross packages with luxury items. The mathematics of abundance didn't compute in the German mind. It violated everything they'd been taught about resources and scarcity and the necessity of conquest. Thanksgiving 1943 arrived like a revelation. Purely American holiday. No European equivalent. A celebration of gratitude and plenty. Every camp received the same directive. Serve traditional Thanksgiving dinner. All prisoners, no exceptions, roast turkey. Made golden brown in camp ovens. Real turkey, not substitutes or stretchers. Stuffing. Bread-based, rich with herbs and butter. Mashed potatoes swimming in gravy. Real gravy, not flour-thickened water. Sweet potatoes, candied with brown sugar and butter, cranberry sauce. Tart and sweet and purely American vegetables. Multiple kinds. Fresh where possible, canned where necessary. Pumpkin pie. Spiced and sweet and topped with whipped cream, coffee, and milk. As much as anyone wanted. The logistics alone staggered imagination. 425,000 prisoners in camps across America. Millions of American servicemen worldwide, all receiving turkey dinner on the same day. But what broke German understanding wasn't the logistics, it was the equality. Prisoners ate the exact same meal as American soldiers. Same turkey, same portions, same desserts. Nazi ideology taught racial hierarchy, superiority and inferiority, masters and subjects. America served pie to enemies. Christmas, 1943 brought something even more incomprehensible. Kindness.American. Civilians, people who had sons and brothers and fathers fighting Germans, sent packages to German prisoners. The TE American Friends Service Committee alone distributed 50,000 Christmas packages to enemy prisoners, 50,000 acts of generosity toward men who'd fought to destroy their country, homemade cookies wrapped in wax paper, candy, toiletries, games, books, cigarettes, writing, materials local communities near camps participated. In Tonkawa, Oklahoma, townspeople brought treats to Camp Tonkawa. In Hearne, Texas, church groups arrived with cookies and candy for Camp Hearne. These weren't government programs, weren't official policies. These were individual Americans choosing mercy over vengeance, choosing humanity over hatred. One prisoner received a package from a woman whose son had died fighting in France. Her letter, preserved in archives, said simply, "You are someone's son, too. Merry Christmas." That letter did more damage to Nazi ideology than a year of propaganda films could achieve. By 1944, Over 100,000 German prisoners worked American jobs. Labor shortages had opened farms and factories to enemy hands, and those hands witnessed abundance from the inside. In Michigan, prisoners picked cherries, not regular cherries, maraschino cherries, those bright red garnishes that topped ice cream sundaes, entire orchards, tons of fruit, grown specifically to decorate desserts. The excess staggered them. In Germany, every calorie had purpose. Every food item served nutrition, but Americans grew massive orchards just to make ice cream prettier. At canneries, prisoners watched quality control that would have seemed criminally wasteful in Germany. Del Monte records from 1944 show 15% of perfectly edible fruit rejected for minor imperfections. Size irregularities, small blemishes. That rejected food went to animal feed. In Germany, such fruit would have been treasured, canned carefully, distributed to civilians who'd be grateful for anything. In America, pigs ate it. Sugar beet processing in Colorado and Nebraska revealed agricultural mechanization beyond anything German farming had achieved. Single American farms, individual family operations, produced more sugar beets than entire German regions. Prisoners learned that American sugar, production from cane and beets combined, reached 7 million tons. Annually, 7 million tons of sugar, while Germany rationed 10 ounces per person per month. That disparity explained everything they'd witnessed. The sugar bowls on tables, the sweet desserts, the candy everywhere. America could afford abundance because America created abundance. Prisoners working near schools witnessed something that seemed impossible. Children, regular American children, eating hot lunches at school, milk, protein, vegetables, served hot, served daily, served to everyone. The National School Lunch Act wouldn't formalize this until 1946, but pilot programs operated during the war. The logistics of delivering fresh milk to thousands of schools daily demonstrated organizational capacity Germany couldn't achieve for military supplies. Some school cafeterias sold ice cream. Additional purchase, optional luxury, children buying frozen desserts at school. While German children faced starvation, the contrast carved itself into prisoner memories like words on stone. Minimum security prisoners sometimes ate at, American diners under guard supervision, small restaurants, local places, nothing fancy, but the menus would have graced elite establishments in Berlin. Hamburgers for 25 cents, Coca-Cola for 5, pie for 15 cents, ice cream sundaes for a quarter, full dinner specials for 65 to 75 cents, and anyone could order anything. The equality of service shocked prisoners trained in German social stratification. A factory worker and bank president sat at the same counter, ate identical meals, paid identical prices, received identical service from the same waitress. No special privileges, no party membership required, no connections needed, just money. Common money, available to anyone who worked. That was democracy tasting like hamburger and Coke. Publications reached the camps, newspapers, magazines, statistics, American production figures for 1944. Printed openly in media the military didn't censor. Sugar, approximately 7 million tons. Chocolate and cocoa products, 380 million pounds for the military alone. Coca-Cola, 5 billion bottles in 1943 on ice cream, over 500 million gallons milk, 19 billion pounds. German production for the same period told a different story. Sugar, heavily rationed, primarily from beets, never enough. Chocolate, Military priority only. Civilians rarely saw it. Soft drinks, minimal production, luxury items, if available at all. Ice cream, virtually non-existent outside elite circles. Milk, severely rationed, often watered down, frequently unavailable. The numbers published openly in American magazines exceeded Germany's peacetime. Peaks. America was fighting a global war and still outproducing Germany's best years. That truth settled into prisoner consciousness like winter cold. By late 1944, something remarkable was happening. German prisoners in America were sending food packages home, to Germany, to their families, using camp wages, 80 cents to $1 per day. Prisoners purchased American products to mail back. Chocolate bars, instant coffee, canned goods, luxuries their families couldn't obtain in homeland freedom. International Red Cross records confirm the reversal. 11 million parcels sent from German prisoners in America to families in Germany. During the war, 11 million packages of abundance flowing from captivity to freedom. The deep psychological impact cannot be overstated. German families opening packages from imprisoned relatives, finding American chocolate, American coffee, American canned meat, while they stood in ration lines for bread that was more sawdust than flour. The imprisoned ate better than the free. The defeated lived better than the victors. Nazi ideology collapsed. Under the weight of that, irony, American rationing, the restrictions Americans complained about endlessly, revealed the gulf between societies. Americans received 2 pounds of sugar monthly during rationing. They complained bitterly about the hardship. That was more than triple the German allowance when sugar was available at all. American meat rationing allowed 28 ounces weekly per person. Germans received less than that monthly. Even rationed, even restricted, America maintained consumption levels. Germans considered impossible luxury. Office of Price Administration records show Americans consumed 74 pounds of sugar per capita in 1944, 10 times German consumption, while complaining about shortages. Beyond Coca-Cola, prisoners discovered an entire soft drink industry. Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, Orange Crush, regional brands, dozens of companies producing similar products, competing nationwide. The variety itself demonstrated market abundance impossible under Germany's controlled economy. Bottling plants in every major city. Technology, carbonation, bottling, capping, labeling, standardized and efficient. Single plants producing millions of bottles annually. Distribution networks reaching every small town, every gas station, every grocery store. American soft drink production reached billions of bottles annually by war's end. Dozens of bottles per American citizen yearly. This single industry's output exceeded entire sectors of German consumer production. The spring of 1945 brought the final, crushing blow. American forces advanced through Germany. German prisoners in America watched newsreels of GIs distributing chocolate and chewing gum to German children. Those children's faces, joy at receiving. American candy their own government couldn't provide. Completed the ideological demolition. The contrast burned like acid. American soldiers advancing through enemy territory carried enough candy to give away freely. The German state that had promised triumph delivered starvation. Films of concentration camp liberations showed American troops sharing rations with skeletal survivors, demonstrating humanity toward victims of the regime these prisoners had served. Some prisoners wept watching those films, not just for the horror revealed, but for the recognition that America possessed moral strength as overwhelming as its material abundance. Between 1945 and 1946, German prisoners returned home. Many had gained significant weight in American captivity: 20 pounds, 30 pounds, healthy weight from adequate food and rest. They returned to families who'd lost weight to starvation, children with hollow cheeks, wives with thin arms, parents aged beyond their years by deprivation. The physical evidence was undeniable. Imprisonment in America had been healthier than freedom in Germany. Medical examinations confirmed it. German prisoners generally returned healthier than when captured. Better teeth, better weight, fewer diseases. Their families showed the opposite trajectory. Weakened by deprivation, sickened by malnutrition, struggling to survive in the ruins of the thousand-year Reich. Many prisoners brought final Red Cross packages home: chocolate, coffee, canned goods. These items became family treasures, divided carefully, savored slowly. Children who'd forgotten chocolate's taste received Hershey bars from fathers who'd eaten ice cream regularly in prison camps. The irony twisted like a knife. Former prisoners became unexpected advocates for the Marshall Plan. They'd witnessed American abundance firsthand, understood it wasn't zero-sum, prosperity through production rather than conquest. Their testimony influenced German acceptance of American aid. These men understood that American power came from productive capacity, not extraction. They'd seen a society wealthy enough to waste food while fighting a global war. That observation shaped their vision of possible futures. This mental model, creation rather than conquest, shaped West Germany's economic approach in Reconstruction. The German economic miracle of the 1950s was partially built on knowledge gained in American prison camps. Former prisoners who'd witnessed American production methods applied those lessons to German Reconstruction. They'd learned fundamental truths. Mass production could make luxuries affordable. Standardization enabled quality and efficiency. Consumer abundance created political stability. Industrial democracy could outproduce authoritarian control. These lessons, learned through Coca-Cola and ice cream, shaped a generation of German business and political leaders. The TO transformation is documented extensively. Military quartermaster records, International Red Cross reports, corporate production records, particularly Coca-Cola archives, prisoner correspondence, censored but preserved, post-war interviews and memoirs, academic studies, especially Arnold Kramer's extensive research. Kramer, the leading historian of German prisoners in America, concluded that food abundance was central to ideological transformation. His research confirmed that casual American plenty accomplished what formal re-education programs couldn't: complete demolition of Nazi superiority myths. The numbers tell an irrefutable story. Average prisoner consumption, 1943 to 1946, daily calories, 3,300 to 3,600. Sugar, 4 pounds monthly, available consistently. Meat, 32 ounces weekly. Milk, 1 quart daily, available consistently. Ice cream, served regularly during summer months. Soft drinks, unlimited access at 5 cents each. German civilian rations, same period. Daily calories, 1,200 to 1,500. Sugar, 280 grams monthly when available. Meat, 10.5 ounces weekly, often unavailable. Milk, severely rationed. Ice cream, non-existent. Soft drinks, unavailable. These weren't propaganda figures. These were documented reality. Enemy prisoners ate better than German civilians. America extended abundance even to defeated foes. The prisoner experience influenced post-war Germany profoundly. Coca-Cola returned to West Germany in 1949. Symbol of American alliance. Symbol of abundance restored. Ice cream parlors modeling American soda fountains appeared in German cities. Candy bars and chewing gum became symbols of recovery. Former prisoners often became importers of American food products. They understood appeal from personal experience. These products represented more than taste. They symbolized abundance, democracy, modernity. The introduction of supermarkets to Germany in the 1950s was championed by former prisoners who'd witnessed American grocery stores. They understood that democratic abundance required new distribution methods, not just production increases. In interviews decades later, former prisoners consistently identified food abundance as transformative. A former Afrika Korps officer, interviewed in 1975, "We expected to defeat a weak, divided America. Instead, we found a nation that could give ice cream to enemies. That's when we knew we'd lost more than a war. We'd lost our entire worldview." Another veteran, speaking for a documentary in 1985, "My first Coca-Cola was like drinking the future. Sweet, fizzing, completely unnecessary. Available to anyone for a nickel. That drink contained everything Nazi Germany wasn't. Abundant, democratic, joyful." These testimonies, collected across decades, confirm that American food abundance achieved what military defeat alone couldn't: complete ideological transformation. The men who arrived as Nazi warriors left as witnesses to democratic prosperity. Historians recognize the German prisoner experience in America as remarkably successful re-education. Not through propaganda, not through lectures, not through force, through observation, through experience, through abundance. The program succeeded because it relied on reality rather than rhetoric. Prisoners saw American society functioning at peak productivity while treating enemies with dignity. The food aspect was crucial because it was universal. Everyone understands hunger and satisfaction. Undeniable. Weight gain and health improvement were visible. Continuous. 3 meals daily plus canteen purchases. Comparative. Prisoners knew German deprivation intimately. Every meal became a lesson in American industrial capacity. Every Coca-Cola demonstrated standardization and distribution. Every ice cream sundae showed that abundance could be democratic. Children of prisoners grew up hearing stories about American abundance in prison camps. These tales, initially seeming fantastic, were validated as West Germany recovered and American products became available. The mythology of American plenty, born in prison camps, shaped generations of German-American relations. Many prisoner children later studied or worked in America. Drawn by their fathers' stories of impossible abundance, they found reality matched the tales. Supermarkets stocked with variety, soda fountains serving sundaes, candy aisles offering endless choices. This multi-generational impact extended beyond individuals. West German business culture absorbed lessons about consumer abundance, quality standardization, and democratic markets. The economic miracle wasn't just about production. It was about creating abundance for ordinary citizens. Today, McDonald's operates over 1,400 restaurants in Germany. Coca-Cola is ubiquitous. Ice cream is ordinary. The transformation from scarcity to abundance, initiated in American prison camps, is complete. Yet, the historical lesson remains powerful. Ideological transformation through abundance rather than deprivation, kindness rather than cruelty, demonstration rather than propaganda. The German prisoners who couldn't believe ice cream and Coca-Cola existed in American prison camps witnessed democracy's ultimate weapon, the ability to create such abundance that it could be casually shared with enemies. This story represents history's most unusual victory. A war won through generosity. An ideology defeated by ice cream. A worldview shattered by soft drinks. These men experienced transformation not through punishment, but through plenty. They arrived believing in German superiority and American weakness. They left understanding that American strength came from productive capacity so vast it could waste resources without concern. The society that could give Coca-Cola to prisoners for 5 cents possessed power beyond military might. The ice cream sundae, with its layers of excess, became metaphor for American abundance. Ice cream, syrup, whipped cream, nuts, cherry on top. Each component alone exceeded German dreams. Combined, they represented impossible luxury made routine. That enemies could order seconds while German children faced hunger revealed the totality of Nazi failure. Former prisoners often recalled specific moments of revelation. The first Coca-Cola's fizz against the tongue, the first spoonful of ice cream, cold and sweet and impossible. The first bite of a Hershey bar, chocolate melting rich and dark. These sensory memories carried more power than any argument. They had tasted democracy, and it was sweet. The transformation was complete and irrevocable. Men who had marched for the Third Reich returned as apostles of abundance, carrying the revolutionary message that prosperity came from freedom, not conquest. They had learned that America's secret weapon wasn't military might. It was the ability to give ice cream to enemies. The bottles of Coca-Cola and dishes of ice. Cream served in American prison camps achieved what armies could only attempt: the complete transformation of enemy hearts and minds. The German prisoners who couldn't believe such abundance existed became its greatest witnesses, carrying home the truth that democracy tasted like chocolate and freedom fizzed like carbonation. Their story reminds us that sometimes the greatest victories are won not through destruction, but through demonstration. Not through taking, but through giving. Not through hatred, but through the simple act of serving ice cream to enemies on a hot summer day. The men who experienced American abundance as prisoners became freedom's most unlikely ambassadors, transformed forever by the impossible reality of Coca-Cola and ice cream in American prison camps. The sweetness lingered long after the war ended, in memory, in testimony, in the shape of nations rebuilt. Those prisoners carried home something more powerful than military secrets. They carried the taste of a future where abundance didn't require conquest, where prosperity was democratic, where even enemies could have ice cream. That taste changed everything.